All right, back to Larry Fink saying how we're going to die.
These technologies.
Well, and you guys have been very involved in financing some of that build out, of course,
Correct.
being a key partner, for example, in the build out of the AI infrastructure in terms of data centers
Yes.
and everything else.
And obviously not worried about the peak in data center that Wall Street's so fixated.
There is no peak.
There's no right.
It
I
is,
mean,
in fact, the capex that's necessary to do that is only going to grow. As we democratize AI, we need more data centers because the utilization will be greater. So this is they're
it is,
short-term.
but the costs are going to go up, aren't they? Conceivably, for the servers that go into a
right
data
now,
center.
a 1 gigawatt data center with all the GPUs, all
Yeah.
the power, all that, we're talking $50 billion per data center.
Right.
We're talking major, and this is, but data centers don't throw off a big return. So a data center throws off even with leverage because at 11 or
50 billion? I'm sorry for taking a second here. I'm going to become the Joker. There's never been a country that is more, I mean, dumber than the United States right now. Like, it's hard for me to believe because what's happening right now in my brain is the little remaining empathy I had for my fellow Americans is dying. And I'm becoming hard-hearted. And that's not how I like to be. But the amount of money that is being hollowed out of necessary services that would significantly increase the quality of life for all Americans. Like, for example, you know, free college for all would be around $80 billion a year for the entire country. This motherfucker wants to spend $50 billion on one data center. They want to build like 10 or 20 of these things. And there's very little evidence that it's ever going to be useful for anything. It's all speculative. So on the one hand, we have these data centers, which I'm not saying you shouldn't build any of them. But on the other hand, we don't even have public transit in this country. We have no high-speed rail. We don't have good schools. We have expensive colleges. We don't have enough doctors. We don't have enough nurses. We don't have enough welders. We don't have enough construction workers. We don't have enough of anything of human worth. Our cities are filthy. Our streets are pockmarked with potholes. We don't have public transit. We don't have good housing. We don't have health care. We don't have a good energy system. Our grid is from the fucking 19 teens. Our housing quality is shit. Our student loan debt is out of control. Housing, health care, child care, education, transport, the quality of our environment. It's all garbage, and they're taking the money and they're plowing it into these worthless data centers. So what? You could get Ghibli Nazi salutes? I mean, this country is an absolute free fall. Then we're throwing on massive tariffs on the one country that provides our treats. We don't even have treats anymore. I have been trying to communicate to people just how stupid what Donald Trump is doing is, and I can't. I can't communicate it. I can't communicate it. The only thing that America had, the only thing we had, was our cheap treats. The fact that you could go to Walmart, the fact that you could go to Costco, the fact that you could, go to Amazon and pick up a bunch of cheaply made products and have them brought to your door quickly. That was the only good thing about America. The only good thing was the consumer experience for soft and light industrial goods. The only good thing was the treats. And they're destroying the only good thing. Wait, you can't afford a house. You can't get health care. Traffic is a fucking disaster. Why isn't everybody pulling their hair out about fixing traffic? Almost everywhere in this country is absolutely choked to death with fucking traffic, and nobody even talks about trying to fix a goddamn thing. It's fucking crazy that people are not even going insane. And then when you do drive, people are fucking nuts. They don't signal. They're making wild lane changes. They're speeding up shoulders. It's actually unbelievable how pathetic this country is in every way. And it's not because we don't have the resources. It's not because we don't have the know-how. It's we would rather cut off our own dicks than do something to help someone else who doesn't, quote, deserve it. Whatever the fuck that means. As if anybody deserves anything. I mean, the 10-year treasuries are up 20 basis points today. Like, what's going on? What the fuck is happening? What the fuck is going on? Without the foundation of education, we have nothing. That's why you're having a hard time communicating. I mean, you know, like the hardest thing about being me, and I know this sounds horribly arrogant, but I'm sorry, it's true, is that I don't think the average person knows anything when I talk to them. So when I start talking to people, I have zero faith that they know anything. And it's like, you know, if I make a literary reference, it's like it's just, well, I stopped doing that a while ago because it feels cringe. Because you never see the light of recognition in people's eyes. You referenced Shakespeare or the Bible or a play or even the popular fucking television show. Fuck that. They don't know shit. Let alone referencing philosophy or history or economics or law or anything. God fucking forbid you do that. It's pointless. So you're like asking people if they know what fucking country they're in. And the other thing is, and this is something that I've noticed online, is that people will just come out and yell things because they vibe that it's true. Like when I speak, I am certain that I'm right. I'm certain that I'm right. Now sometimes I'm not. And if somebody brings me evidence that I was wrong, I can take a look at it and go, okay, thanks for the update. You know what? You're right. And then I can change. And my ego is intact. I'll reflect on what made me think the wrong thing, but if somebody brings me something that is credible and can refute what I'm saying, then I can reevaluate. That's not that big a deal. The problem is people will just come in and just say conclusions. This is the most common form of pushback that I get. No, Mike, you're wrong. Or Mike is an idiot, guys. That's it. I can't tell you the last time I got an argument where it was factually based. I like legitimately, it's all rhetoric all the time. It's all conclusions all the time. Nobody even bothers to try to make a point. It's like this country is brain dead. If something goes down 10% and it goes up the 10%, are you back where you started? No, because the decrease is from a bigger number. 10%, 100 minus 10 equals 90, plus 9 equals 99. Huh? Okay, I don't even know if this guy's real. If you know something they don't know, they automatically think you're a brainwashed conspiracy theorist because their brains are just that broken. I mean, like, I think I really should have known this is when I was debating Destiny. I think like Destiny having any viewership or any fans at all is a sign of like such profound rot in this society that it actually blows my mind. Like obviously he's kind of like been wrecked by his own sex scandal or whatever, but like he's dumber than fucking dirt. He knows less than dick. Making argument with facts is a sucker's game. Wrong. It's the only thing that matters. And the fact that you have been indoctrinated to believe that facts don't matter is why you are manipulatable and trickable. And the fact that you think others don't care about facts is part of why you're easy to manipulate and trick. The reason why I care about information and data and facts is because I don't want to be manipulated by people that know how to speak well. I think this is the one thing that like I can't put into other people's brains is like mental models on how, like I've tried, but when you approach information, there's certain evaluative steps you should take. Who is saying the thing? Why? What motivations or biases might they have? What is the information that they're drawing upon? How reliable is that information? Like just like basic shit. But it seems like people can't do it. Legitimately, people cannot do it. They just read whatever the thing is, and at best they go, this is an authoritative source. This is what it says. That is the truth. End of line. It's like, it's legitimately... It's legit. Oh, by the way, the stock market is starting to crash there. I expect it to. I think we're fucked. Wow. Treasury yields absolutely skyrocketing. The markets are starting to fold again. You should accuse Americans of being uneducated. They just can't afford to go to college and are often brainwashed by media like the BBC. They are 100% pieces of shit. I don't mind if somebody doesn't know something. I really don't. I don't know a lot of shit. If you ask me, Mike, how do you weld? The answer is, I'm sorry, I never spent any time learning about welding outside of the most basic facts about different types of welding. I've never actually welded anything, which is a huge L for me, by the way. There's people like me who are out there like talking about politics or law, and they don't know a goddamn thing. I'm from Gen Z with a Southern education. Critical thinking and analysis was something my high school did not do or teach, just memorization of information to pass testing standards. I'm so glad I went to a Northern public school. I'm so glad I went to a well-funded Northern public school in 2000, from 1998 to 2002, because holy fucking shit, are you guys stupid?
%14 return.
Yeah, but that's fine for your, I mean, you're happy to finance it all day long.
But that's the beauty of our capital markets. Microsoft trades at a much higher PE.
Right.
Owning data center degrades their PE. Same thing with.
They don't want to. They'd much rather have you and pay you, and they're a great
power of our capital markets.
All
and that's
understood.
Why I'm so bullish.
But does it? This has been the most important thing we've been talking about for the last year and a half, 2 years. Has been driving a lot of our certainly our equity markets. Do we slow down our advances as a result of some of these tariffs that are in place right now?
We better not, because China's not slowing down in their technology.
Okay.
It's Sputnik. It's Sputnik. We need the competition to be great.
Competition is good.
They are not slowing down at all.
We're not, and they're building 100 gigawatts of power right now using nuclear. So they're going to have the power generation to do AI. This is one of my calls of action. We need to be forceful in building out our infrastructure that we have the power generation so we can do these
But
AI.
I want to get to a lot of other subjects, but you see no slowdown at this point at all in terms of the spending by the hyper.
There is absolutely no chance that these men can compete with Xi Jinping. None whatsoever. It's already over. Thank God.
Scalers, the others who would be customers of the data centers that you get behind.
There certainly could be 1 quarter or 2 quarters, but everything that we see in the plans, in their long-term plans, is to build this out as fast as possible.
I'm going to be pedestrian for 1 second.
Yeah.
My travel trust has a huge position in your stock. I thought that your organic growth was better than expected.
It was.
And look, the flows in are still good. The technology's great. Lost in the whole shuffle, your stock has come down a lot, and to me represents value.
I think our stock represents incredible value. We had our best beginning of the year in 6 years. We had 14% technology growth in the quarter. We had, if you take out the one client who took out some
Isn't
index
it crazy that all American corporations are named after evil shit? Palantir, it's like, that's the fucking evil, orb that Sauron looked in. This motherfucker's name is Blackrock. It's like an evil fucking fortress. It's like, what the they're just evil. They're just evil fuckers.
Fee index business, we had $140 billion of flows. We actually, in a period of time where
his
most people
name is
lost.
Fink, for fuck's sake. His name is fucking Fink.
Assets and equities. We had equity increases. Our systematic equity team, our Aperio team, we had positive flows. So we had an incredible quarter of flows, and we had a 6% net fee growth, which I think the street estimate was 3 or 4. And so
yeah,
we had in almost every category a beat across the board.
Are we going to have a recession in the United States?
As I said on Monday at a talk that I gave at the New York Economic Club, I think we're very close, if not in a recession now. What may be...
You don't need that.
Good. What may be happening is a lot of people are buying in advance of the elevated increases, like lines around Apple stores buying iPhones and all that stuff. But I believe all the uncertainty is really making everyone pause. And everyone's wait and see. And so I think you're going to see this across the board. We just say slow down until we have more certainty. Yeah. And, we now have a 90-day pause on the reciprocal tariff. That means longer, more elevated uncertainty.
Speaking of pauses, let's take a quick pause. Let's get the opening bell. We'll be right back to Larry for our conversation. Here at the big board, we've got Project Hood, that's a Chicago-based nonprofit aiming to reduce violence, build economic opportunity at the NASDAQ, the online pet pharmacy.
Pet meds. Pet pharmacy. Online pet
There's
pharmacy.
Something you want to buy.
Yeah, that's a bubble. Yeah, that's a bubble. Yeah, that's a bubble. Yeah. Yeah, that's a bubble.
Dog gets sick, man. You got trouble.
No doubt about it.
No doubt about it. All right, Larry, let's continue. I know we got a little bit of background noise here, but you're making the point. You obviously talked about this. Listen, we were talking about it, the uncertainty. So many CEOs we're speaking to.
Citadel Securities, yeah.
I've heard this now many number of times, similar to early days of COVID, like 5 years ago.
Sure.
I just don't know what's coming. I have nothing to expect, and so I'm keeping my head down. Is that a fair way to sort of characterize it?
I think that's a bad answer because today you need to run into the uncertainty and try to find solutions.
Okay.
So keeping your head down. I would not like that as an answer as a shareholder with any CEO.
Right.
I mean, to me, this is an opportunity to look for opportunities. And because of all our clients having uncertainty, we are spending more time with more conversation with more clients globally than any time. Our job now is to be, helping, calming, giving them ideas. So if a CEO said, I'm going to keep my head down.
Well, I guess that was the way one characterized it. But I guess it's the uncertainty itself that creates an inability to do long-term planning in terms of capital allocation.
There's
right
no
now.
question CapEx is falling right now until you have better understanding where should that CapEx go. But I do...
CapEx falling. Okay, what the fuck does that mean? Capital expenditure is what CapEx means. And capital expenditure is when companies invest in things. Buy shit that's real to make things actually existing. So, like, if you build a new factory, that's CapEx. If you are investing in something that is actually going to increase your production or increase your fundamental baseline productivity, CapEx. They're reducing CapEx. That means the economy is going to shrink in the future because we are not taking advantage of productivity increasing opportunities. So, yeah. The economy is going into shit.
I believe, as I said in my talk this morning, yes. I do believe the mega trends are still with us, whether it's AI, data centers, infrastructure, the whole reorientation of our economy. So I think the
what? You mean manufacturing?
Forced trends are not going to change by what is happening now, but maybe the execution of some of these trends may be delayed, maybe pushed out longer. But
funnily enough, the Palantiri were created to help diplomacy and assist a good king in governing their lands. Then Sauron looked at them and was like, nice, I could use this, which is supposed to be an allegory in Lord of the Rings about the dangers of making something without thinking about potentially harmful consequences. Oh, you mean like ICE? You mean like the Department of Homeland Security? You mean the NSA and CIA reading all of our fucking messages? You think maybe putting backdoors into every smartphone, turning every smartphone into a voluntarily carried bug?
I still remain to be optimistic over the long run. Yes, we have to recalibrate. Yes, I do believe we're probably starting, if not, we're in a recession. Yes, I think the market is still underestimating how high inflation can get. If you factor in all the tariffs,
right?
You factor in all these other issues, it's going to be quite additive. I mean, I read in a report that if you just...
I'm a project manager who does CapEx for my company. We are pausing numerous projects for the time being. Oil prices have fallen so steeply this month that it's no longer profitable for many companies to drill new wells in major U.S. patches per Axios. Yes, I told you about this yesterday. Like oil at $60 a barrel. No one's going to drill in America. No one's drilling in America at $60 a barrel.
Joining us now is Citigroup Global Head of Commodities Research, Max Layton. Max, crude oil has sold off very sharply as a result of all of this new tariff regime, the weakening global economic outlook. What do you think is priced in at this point?
Yeah, we're certainly not recommending any of our clients buy crude oil here, or copper for that matter. Risk-exposed commodities, they've got a lot of room to continue to move lower over. If it doesn't happen this week, it's going to happen this month. These are physical commodity markets. They're not just impacted by financial.
Gold just went past 3,200. Oh my God. Jesus. Man, like last year, Costco was selling gold bars for like, you could have gotten quite the deal.
take the tariffs in the cost of home building, the average new home could be up as much as 26%.
Let's finish this and then we'll watch about oil.
We already have a housing affordability problem.
None of this sounds any good to me, Larry. I mean, and it's all self-inflicted, by the way. None of it needed to happen.
This is not a pandemic. This is not a financial crisis. This is something that we've created. As I said also on Monday, the United States post-World War II was a global stabilizer. We are the global destabilizer.
Right.
Now,
And
Larry,
that's a very hard thing to say, because I pride ourselves of being, bringing the leadership, bringing the conversations. But I will say the power of U.S. capitalism is still alive. I will say more and more times clients worldwide are asking for our, at least at the CEO level, they're asking for our vision, our views. They still want to engage. They still want to build. So long term, I'm less worried about some of these issues, but in the short run, I'm petrified at some of these issues.
Petrified.
well, let's speak of being petrified.
Petrified?
You and I are old enough.
I love it's so great we have a channel where the capitalists just go on and start mumbling. It is actually, I am legitimately a CNBC enjoyer, because it helps me justify my white hot burning hate for capitalists, because I see them talk and I see who they are and I learn their names, and they are just the most vile scum who ever scummed. Like, I know how a lot of people talk about, meeting other people, it grows empathy, you learn their perspective, blah, 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 blah. But when you watch CNBC, you're just like, oh shit, I understand Mao now. Oh shit, I understand Stalin now. Whoa, shit, I understand the French Revolution now. Oh shit, I get it now. Before you were like, wow, how could these situations get so serious? How could good-hearted socialists and even liberals become violent? The guillotine, how did that happen? And it's like, oh, watch CNBC and you'll be like, Assassin's Creed Unity is my favorite video game now. I get it now. A right-winger messaged me, chat, in DMs. A right-winger messaged me in DMs, and he goes, hey man, I just wanted to have, I legitimately wanted to ask you. Here, let me read it. He goes, real question, what do you guys see in China? As a right-winger, I see a right-wing ethno-state that prioritizes the Han Chinese population. That's fine, but they are enemies of America, so I have to oppose them. I just don't understand what you leftists see in that. So this is what a right-winger sent me. He's like, why do you like China? It's a right-wing ethno-state. And I'm like, okay, Jesus Christ. And this is what I said. Now, I ended up going into more of a conversation about how, like, I was just talking about dialectical materialism and how the division, like, nations are not real. And it's really a competition between the working class and the capitalist, international bourgeoisie. And, like, they don't really care about America. Like this guy doesn't give a fuck about America. Elon Musk doesn't give a fuck about America. They are a cosmopolitan international bourgeois. They don't give a shit about you. They only see America as a state that they can manipulate for their own benefit. They don't give a fuck about you. And you can see that in Israel when American citizens are gunned down by the IDF. What happens? American politicians fall all over themselves to suck the dick of Benjamin Netanyahu. It doesn't matter that American citizens are being erased. And it's not racial. White American citizens get killed by the IDF. They don't care. Turkish American citizens get killed by the IDF. They don't care. Palestinian American, they don't care. They'll say, here, you want bullets to replace the ones you fired into my citizens' skulls? They legitimately do not care. It's not about race. It is about the fact that the capitalist class is there to dominate and control and exploit. Countries are created as a way to justify sending normal people to resolve conflicts between capital owners. Yes, they create false consciousness. The only way you would ever fight somebody from China is if somebody cooks up some bullshit false consciousness about America being under threat from China. You are not under threat from China. You are not under threat from some random Chinese guy. It's batshit crazy, made up bullshit. The only people that are going to harm you are your fucking landlord or your fucking boss or the cops on the street. Or some person in desperate poverty who has PTSD from a life of torture, going insane, and committing an act of antisocial behavior on the street. Those are the fucking threats to you. All right? The threats are not China. 0% of the threat to you is China. Relevant Disco Elysium quote. Is this from The Deserter?
To remember when Nixon went to China, opened the door,
or the gold, you know,
the bourgeois are not
walking
human.
away from the gold standard.
right? The same couple of years, and I think that there was tremendous anxiety then going the other way. Did we really think that we could have a great relationship with Mao, who was a mass murderer? Did we think that we could actually do business with China? We did $1 billion with them the next year, but then next thing we know, we're doing $100 billion. Now we're doing $438 billion, and now we want to do zero. How does zero impact our country?
Well, we've had now 20 plus years of supply chain creations. And, you know, another economic force, Jim, post-World War II.
By the way, Jim Cramer was saying, if we could trade with Mao, what's Xi Jinping is nothing compared to Mao. Mao's the big scary guy, yet we traded with Mao. What? That doesn't make any, like that's what his point is.
Issues, but in the short run, I'm petrified at some of these issues.
By the way, Jim Cramer is probably the capitalist that I hate the most. And it's not because he's cringe. It's because he's a traitor. Jim Cramer is a literal socialist who just switched sides. You guys know that? He said there's a class war and I'm going to be on the side of the capitalists. And he became a capitalist, literally. This is not an exaggeration. He talks about it.
Petrified.
Well, let's speak of being petrified. You and I are old enough to remember when Nixon went to China, opened the door,
or the gold, you know, or walking away from the gold standard.
Right, the same couple of years. And I think that there was tremendous anxiety then going the other way. Did we really think that we could have a great relationship with Mao, who was a mass murderer? Did we think that we could actually do business with China? We did $1 billion with them the next year, but then next thing we know, we're doing $100 billion. Now we're doing $438 billion, and now we want to do zero. How does zero impact our country?
Well, we've had now 20 plus years of supply chain creations, and you know, another economic force, Jim, post-World War II was consumerism. So we built the whole foundation of economic policy around consumerism, providing Americans with the cheapest products. Right. And so that was the foundation. Now, did that come at a cost that some of our communities were decimated, where they lost jobs? Absolutely. So maybe we went too far on the whole concept of consumerism. But let's be clear, the major economic foundation was based on consumerism. And so we wanted our companies to go around the world to find the best places to provide the highest quality at the cheapest prices so we could consume more. And we always thought that that type of consumption was the most progressive form of economic behavior. More people could have more. And that was one of the fundamental reasons why the United States was the leader.
Yes.
Because our citizens were huge consumers. By now changing this equilibrium, it's going to be harder to consume, and we're going to have elevated inflation.
Do we?
I'm trying to find the video of it, chat. I don't know why. Man, Google search is so much worse than it used to be. They just ignore what you put in there. They just legitimately just ignore that shit. I see that. I don't want text. I don't want text. I want the video. I know the video exists out there.
I want you to compare the labor negotiations here to the ones in auto, where I think there's going to be a strike, and I think it's going to be horrible.
You're making that call
September
today?
14. I think they're going to strike. Chauvin, the guy who runs the UAW, I find him frightening.
And Teamsters UPS didn't give you any solace.
Teamsters turned out to be get a good deal. Teamsters historically very powerful union, rich union. But the UAW leader won. There was a very contested vote between the company, the union that wants to work with the autos together to try to preserve some jobs and give the elder people a good pay, and then this man, Sean, who is just talking about capitalism and the nature of capitalism and how it's really hurt workers. This is very Walter Reuther language. It's the kind of language that when we had in this country, we'll take you down if you don't play ball. That's the language I'm hearing from UAW. Yep. And look, I mean, it's the kind of language where you just say, you know what, we should have built all our EVs in Mexico. It's that bad. I don't think people are paying enough attention.
This isn't it, but it's funny.
I'm not saying he's irrational. I'm saying he was elected in order to make it so that there's a very short week to find benefit back, and then the notion that we're fat cats. The shareholders are fat cats and have been overly rewarded. We haven't seen this. He's class warfare. And it's very shocking to hear class warfare.
I remember Jim Cramer a while ago who lamented the shift from capital to labor. I'm sorry, from labor to capital over the last 30 years.
Well, I always felt that the middle class benefited from unions. I've been a union member, twice union member, and I always felt that you could work together and everybody would do well. I never felt that we had to destroy the people that we were fighting. I was part of a J.P. Stevens. It was at one point a great textile company. Stoppage, tried to block them, and they went under. And I've always regretted that I was part of that, because J.P. Stevens, we didn't want them to go under. We wanted them to, it was like Bond. Do you want me to? We just wanted them to talk. We didn't want them to die. And so I'm always very reluctant to see a union use such language that makes it feel like that it's zero sum. But I am pro-union because the unions in the way the Ronald Reagan was putting it. It's like, you want people to do well, and you don't want people to have no health care. I mean, unions can be good. Yeah. But this is toxic. It's a very toxic situation.
Jim Cramer, legitimate. The thing about Jim Cramer is, like, I think a lot of people underestimate how evil the right wing is. Like, I talk about this sometimes, and it sounds bombastic, but it's really true. On the right wing, there are two large intellectual frameworks you're going to run into. The first is just kind of idiosyncratic ignorance, where people are more conservative or Republican because it's more of like a meaningless identity signifier. It's a sign of like in-group, out-group status. It's not ideologically coherent, right? Like, they'll call themselves a Republican, but they don't actually agree with any of the policies that Republicans actually advocate for in their platform. I'd say that's about 45% of people that vote Republican don't agree with anything Republicans want to do. They might even be pro-choice and pro-gay rights. Like, literally 45% of Republicans don't agree on, like, they disagree with the majority of the positions of the party. 45% at least. And then the other division are the people who I would call evil. And what I mean by that is they self-consciously want to hurt others and exploit others. And they believe in a just world fallacy. They believe in might makes right. They are chauvinist. They are supremacist. They are racist. They are classist, whatever. They think that themselves and people like them should be able to exploit and take advantage and actually harm others for their own benefit because they are better than them. And therefore, because of nature, they deserve to dominate. So I call this the ignorant/evil axis, right? Every Republican you know, every conservative you know, falls somewhere on the continuum of ignorant to evil, you know? And then there are people like Jim Cramer. Jim Cramer is somebody who I would consider irredeemable. Demon incarnate. And the thing about demons is that demons are spiritual beings that are of the same stuff as an angel, right? They are just, so they are fully aware of God's grace. In theological discussions, a demon is something that's fully aware of God, and they have decided to fully reject goodness. Okay? That is what makes a demon a demon. There is no like human frailty. No, they are a being of pure malice, and they're out to do harm. That's Jim Cramer. Jim Cramer knows exactly whose side he's on. He understands exactly where humanity's side is on, and he chooses to stand on the side of evil. And that's really, it's really very straightforward. It's almost refreshing in a certain sense, right? To see somebody who you don't have to worry even one little bit about redemption. That's Jim Cramer. And so I almost like watching Jim Cramer, because when you see somebody like that, when you see someone who is absolutely irredeemable to the purest sense, it can help ground you in what you're trying to do. And it gives you, and I think one of the biggest problems that I see on the left, from my point of view, is that most of you don't have the ability to recognize an enemy and what the word enemy means. Right? An enemy is something to be destroyed. And I feel like a lot of leftists have this kind of wobbly, bleeding heart, liberal perspective of anybody could be redeemed. It's just a matter of, if we say the right words, then they can go through this period of growth, and then anyone could be rehabilitated and redeemed. No, they can't. Some people are just irredeemable, will never change, want your destruction. Honestly, I consider Jim Cramer to be more of an expression of the suicidal impulses of the human race, are the call of the void. Like, I think if Jim Cramer really was in a room and there was a button there and it said exterminate all human beings, he would push it. Because that is really the essence of capitalism. The essence of capitalism is turning human beings into hamburger meat. That's the essence of what capitalism is about. Capitalism is about everything that you find hold any value outside of the market to be commodified into a product to be sold. And that up to and including human flesh. If you read libertarian thought, as I have, I'm so sorry, I don't recommend it. The most purest form of libertarian thought is that everything should be for sale. Children, human flesh. There is no limit. You should be able to sell yourself into slavery. You should be able to own and sell children. There should be a market in human flesh. There should be a market in cannibalist market, pedophiles, child pornography. The libertarians believe everything should be for sale with no limit. This is not an exaggeration. This is a direct quote. And if you want to see what I'm talking about, robust market in children. I think this is like Mises said this. Oh, here it is. This is the Mises Institute. Like, some right wingers may hear me say this and go like, no, he's exaggerating. He's exaggerating. He's exaggerating. No, libertarians they want you to be left alone. No, they don't. Market in children. There you go. Now, if a parent may own his child within the framework of non-aggression and runaway freedom, then he may also transfer that ownership to someone else. He may give the child out for adoption, or he may sell the rights to the child in a voluntary contract. In short, we must face the fact that in the purely free society, we will have a flourishing free market in children. Superficially, this sounds monstrous and inhuman, but closer thought will reveal that superior humanism of such a market. For we must realize that there is a market for children now, but since the government prohibits sale of children at a price, the parents may now only give their children away to a licensed adoption agency free of charge. This means that we now indeed have a child market, but that the government enforces a maximum price of 0 and restricts the market to a few privileged and therefore monopolistic agencies. The result has been a typical market where the price of the commodity is held by the government far below the free market price, an enormous shortage of the good. The demand for babies and children is usually far greater than the supply. This is not even true, by the way. He's not even right. There's plenty of children that never get adopted. He's just wrong. He's just objectively and totally wrong. And hence, we see daily tragedies of adults denied the joys of adopting children by prying in tyrannical adoption agencies. In fact, yeah, because the adoption agencies want to make sure you're not a pedophile, criminal, rapist, child abuser, irresponsible, mentally ill. Those damn prying and tyrannical adoption. This is what the essence of right-wing thought is. I want you to understand. The people on the other side are demons from hell who hate humanity. And I know that a lot of people are surprised to hear me use theological frameworks, Manichaean frameworks. It's because I've actually read their shit. Okay? It's because I've actually considered the right wing at a fundamental and deep level. I've read Hume. I've read John Stuart Mill. I've read Mises. I've read all these motherfuckers. Okay? I know what they think. And they are scum. Oakenshot. Whatever the fuck else you want to name, I've read. They are scum. I hate the theology because it's like you calling them evil wizards. I'm not saying they have magical powers. I'm letting you understand through a dramatic description how bad these people are. Allowing a free marketed children would eliminate this imbalance and would allow for the allocation of babies and children away from parents who dislike or do not care for their children and toward foster parents who deeply desire such children. Now, chat, what do you think Mises means where we transfer children toward parents who really desire them? Notice he uses the word desire. Is this a joke? What? No, this is one of the most famous libertarian institutes. Murray Rothbard, famous libertarian, talking about how he thinks we should be able to sell children. In the libertarian society, the mother would have the absolute right to her own body and therefore to perform an abortion. It would have the trustee ownership of her children, an ownership limited only by the illegality of aggressing against their persons and by their absolute right to run away or leave home at any time. Parents would be able to sell their trustee rights to children to anyone who wished to buy them at a mutually agreed price. Parents would be able to sell their trustee rights and children to anyone who wished to buy them at any mutually agreed upon price. And if you think this is as bad as it gets, he actually argues in this article as well that you should be able to kill your kids because you own them. Like withhold, I think it's like withhold food. Or it's like die. Let me look at it. Like he says like die or something like that. Hold on. Oh, here we go. Applying our theory to parents and children, this means that a parent does not have the right to aggress against his children, but also that the parent should not have the legal obligation to feed, clothe, or educate his children. Since such obligations would entail positive acts coerced upon the parent and depriving the parent of his rights. The parent, therefore, may not murder or mutilate his child, and the law properly outlaws a parent from doing so, but the parent should have the right not to feed his child, i.e., to allow it to die. The law, therefore, may not properly compel the parent to feed a child or to keep it alive. Again, whether or not such a parent has a moral rather than a legally enforceable obligation to keep his child alive is a completely separate question. This rule allows us to solve such vexing questions as, should a parent have the right to allow a deformed baby to die by not feeding it? The answer is, of course, yes. Following a fortiori from the larger right to allow any baby, whether deformed or not, to die. Although, as we shall see below, in a libertarian society, the existence of a free baby market will bring such neglect down to a minimum. This is the essence of what the Koch brothers want. This is the essence of what the right-wing Republican Party is trying to achieve. And most Republicans don't even know that. Right? Like, this is the essence of what conservatives are trying to achieve. A world where children are the property of their parents to be sold to pedophiles for profit. That children should be allowed to be starved, clothed, or uneducated. We know from extensive studies that the way children are educated in their formative years pretty much sets the stage for the way they're going to be for the rest of their life. If a child is neglected young, they're probably never going to be a functional adult. Especially if they don't get things like the right nutrition, if they don't get social contact, if they don't get taught. And the essence of this situation is that when I discuss politics with people, I know that 99.9% of right-wingers don't know what they actually believe. And I mean, the Mises Institute is not some sort of like fringe group. They're really not. The Mises Institute for Austrian Economics is a nonprofit think tank headquartered in Auburn, Alabama. That is a center for Austrian economics, right-wing libertarian thought, and paleo-libertarian and anarcho-capitalist movements in the United States. The Mises Institute was founded in 1982 by Lou Rockwell, chief of staff to Texas Republican Congressman Ron Paul. Their budget every year is $4.2 million. Candace Jackson, who served as acting head of the U.S. Department of Education Office for Civil Rights during the Trump administration, was previously a summer fellow at the Mises Institute and had collaborated on articles for Rockwell's website.
You want a baby?
More than anything.
Sure.
Can you help us?
As a matter of fact, something's just come my way. It's what I'd have to call an optimum situation. Young mother, a kid in her teens, smart enough to realize that she's not ready for the responsibility of bringing up a brand new baby boy. I don't know if that makes a difference, boy or girl.
No, a boy's what we wanted most.
A Caucasian child, 2 weeks old, in perfect health.
And how much is this going to cost us?
$11,000.
Well, that's more than we heard.
When you're shopping for a dream come true, a little package in a pink or blue.
Murray Rothbard's fantasy. So, you know, this is conservatism in a nutshell, right? Like, I found the Jim Cramer clip.
Went for a master's degree in communism, and we learned these things. I took, no, I'm not kidding. I took 7 courses in communism. Lenin, when he came in 1917, felt that the bankers were making much too much money. He confiscated all their wealth. The peasantry felt terrific about it. The peasantry reacted
Harvard
positively.
Had 7 courses in communism
yes,
when you were an undergrad?
And then I took several at City College. And, you know, it traced out well, and the peasantry was rejoicing, and the bankers, many of them were killed, and there was a terrific surge of opinion that Lenin was a great man.
It didn't work out in the long run,
It didn't work out. Now, but, you know, it's very easy for me to come on. I could do that. I know that rap. I studied it. I know most of Lenin's speeches during the period, including What Is to Be Done, which I committed to memory in the first chapter. And it's really about stringing up guys like John Mack and then feeling great about it. And we studied it. It didn't work, okay? But it did happen. All right,
Yeah.
And it was really because the people in Main Street were doing very poor. As a matter of fact, the peasantry was doing really horrible. Of course, then Stalin annihilated the peasantry in the next act. But, you know, look, we played it out. And if people want to do it, that's fine. It didn't work. And I'm not being facetious. I mean, that's what we did in the Soviet Union. I mean, that's what I studied, and that's what I thought at the time when I was in callow youth was a good idea.
Yeah.
Because I felt that the disparities, and the fact that I was living in my car at the time, the fact that I had no money, it seemed justified. But you know what? Justification of what someone makes and someone doesn't shouldn't rest on the idea that I was living in my car drinking too heavily, had an axe next to me, and I had a shotgun. I mean, it's not like why should I be making policy? What we want to do is we want to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And the right thing is that if you really think that they're paid too high, then raise their taxes. Okay, maybe put a windfall tax. I'm against this.
Yeah.
But the idea that because someone's poor, I was poor, and I studied what Trotsky had to say, which, by the way, he would be in favor of the workers owning the production. And I studied Lenin, and, I was very caught up in this notion that the peasantry should win. But, the peasant just didn't work.
Speaking of the peasantry winning, let's give them some trades. What do you think?
Peasantry, it's like a sack of potatoes. Do a little ankles work here. And I'm not talking about money angles. All right, I'm being serious. Go read what is to be done. He's got the handbook for all the people who are complaining. We can put it into place. We can. I wanted to. Yeah. I wanted to do it for 10 years when I was poor. Yeah. Okay? It was a great satisfaction. All right. First, I went for a master's degree in communism. And
yeah. That was during the Great Recession chat, and everything was collapsing, and they were begging for handouts from the government. I just got back the estimates for our merch after the new tariffs is not that bad. $74 for a shirt, $293 for a sweatshirt. I hope you continue to give me your money in these uncertain times. Okay, you can definitely get a sweatshirt made in America for less than $293.